It's my top 10 college football coaches in the CFP era, right? So we're going to start at number 10. We're going to work our way up. Number 10 is going to be controversial because it's Deion Sanders, right? RJ, that man coached a team to go 4-8 last year. What is he doing on this list? He is the only coach in America who can move the needle by simply saying what he wants to happen. He has more sway than Kirby Smart, than Dabo Swinney, than anybody else in college football right now. That is why he is on this list. Add to this, all he did at Jackson State was win. Now, yes, Colorado is a step up. It is a tougher conference than the SWAC, but winning is winning. And he did that. Year one didn't go the way that he wanted to go, but still, we're talking about what Shedeur Sanders might do next year because Prime had an opinion about it. We're talking about changing the home visit to you visit me because Prime decided he was going to do that. He is changing the rules of college football by simply doing what he wants to do, and everybody's got an opinion about it. That is the kind of leverage you can't buy. He is increasing the number of people that want to be donors to Colorado because they apply to Colorado to go to school. He is going to be able to move this in a sport where the players are transient. Coaches, they stay for a very long time, especially if they're real good and they understand what they got. It's a really great job if you can do it. I think Deion Sanders has done more than enough to merit a mention on this list, 4-8 or not. Take a look at what Shedeur Sanders did last year, Travis Hunter did last year, and then take a look at the television numbers if you really want to pick a fight about it. Number 9 on the list, I got Dan Lanning out of Oregon. I'm so impressed with that guy because one of the things that we talk about when we're putting together this list was why now? Well, why now is Coach Saban decided he was going to retire in January, which means that there was a void left for who is the top dog as we see it, and is there been a reshuffling since Nick Saban decided to retire? Somewhat, yes, right? But Dan Lanning makes number 9 here, even though he hadn't led Oregon to a conference championship, and even though they hadn't made a college football playoff, because he was the first call that they wanted to make when Nick Saban decided he wanted to retire. That's it. And you'll see that that's other guys on this list that also received a phone call because that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about who's going to win the national championship. We're talking about they didn't call Kirby Smart. Now, you could say they didn't call Kirby Smart because he was already going to say no. I'd still call him because I'm in that business, right? I ask people to do stuff all the time only for them to tell me no, but they can't say that I didn't ask them, right? I'm always going to ask. Then you look at what Dan Lanning was able to recruit to Oregon, the kind of money that they're able to spend, right? You got Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore over there. You were able to keep your outstanding offensive coordinator, your outstanding defensive coordinator, Will Stein, Tosh LaPoy, respectively, and you're continuing to build on that. And Dan Lanning wants it like Kirby Smart wants it. That's scary, given what Oregon is willing to do to go win football games. Okay, number 8 on the list, very quickly, Mike Norvell coming out of Florida State, what he was able to do in the ACC last year, going undefeated, gave Florida State fans a win I never thought they would get, and it wasn't on a football field. FSU Twitter gets mad about everything, rightly or wrongly, mostly wrongly, but they were right to be aggrieved last year because that man coached that team to an undefeated season and a conference championship, was left out of 14 playoff. Mike Norvell did that. And because Mike Norvell did that, he was also a guy that got a phone call to be the next head coach to Alabama, chose to stay at Florida State. That's why he's on this list. Number 7 on the list for me, Brian Kelly, who is one of the winningest coaches in the sport, going back to what he was able to do at Grand Valley, right? But even so, he was great at Notre Dame, right? Coached them to the playoffs, coached them to some really great seasons, then goes to LSU, turns out a Heisman winner in Jaden Daniels, right? I'm not sure what the sauce is for Brian Kelly, but he knows what the sauce is because he's able to make it work north of the Mason-Dixon line, south of the Mason-Dixon line, coming out of Massachusetts. I have nothing to say but good things about what he's been able to do at LSU, especially given the circumstances. You just got to find a defense coordinator and keep a lid on defense. That's all. Don't give up 50. That's all you got to do, Brian. Don't give up 50. Go score 50. Don't give up 50. Number 6 on the list, Lincoln Riley. Yeah, we were going to get there. You knew we was going to get there. We was going to get there. All right. Lincoln Riley had the worst season that he has had as a head coach last year. Had the reigning Heisman Trophy winner on that team last year. Turned out you can't win championships with a Heisman Trophy winner. But you know who knew that? Oklahoma fans. Oklahoma had 2 Heisman winners. Baker Mayfield, greatest walk-on of all time. Kyler Murray, greatest Texas high school football player of all time. No national championships. Then got a guy who won a national championship in Jalen Hurts to be his starting quarterback, finishes second, gets mollywopped, skull dragged, stomped out by LSU. Then, after you had gone into 2021 with Spencer Rattler starting quarterback, you give him the hook, you throw in there Caleb Williams, you go make it do what it do, and then we go into 2022, and my goodness, man, like the way that he left after the loss to Oklahoma State will always go down in Sooner history as a day of great shame. However, he is one of the great football coaches in our sport. Given the talent that he can turn out, given the people that want to play for him, given the style of offense that he runs and that he is still chasing it. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I have. They're on a tear recruiting. And he has added to that defensive staff with Danton Lynn, Matt Entz, and others, Eric Henderson, to put together a staff I think is capable of winning a conference championship in the Big Ten in year 1. Can he put it all together with Miller Moss? We will see, right? But that's why he's number 6 on this list. All right, now that we got the bottom half, let's talk about the top half, right? Let's talk about the 5 best in college football. Number 5 on the list for me, Texas coach Steve Sarkisian. Another guy who got a phone call to be the next head coach at Alabama and said, no, I'm good. I'm good at Texas. Wow. That was never in the cards for me because Texas was always going to be a tough job, right? They want you to win all the time, and it's not really capable of winning all the time because they want to win their way. But Steve Sarkisian was able to win their way last year. Not only did they go into Tuscaloosa and get a W, they won a Big 12 championship on the way out, made the college football playoff for the first time. Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley both deserve to be on this list right where they are for what they're able to do at the quarterback position. Outstanding play callers, very imaginative in what they're able to do with scheme. And then they got defensive guys, at least to Texas, that can hold a candle to other offenses. Pete Kwiatkowski was an outstanding hire for Steve Sarkisian, and they continue to turn out dudes, right? I think that he's in position to go into SEC play and compete for a conference championship. And he's able to do that at Washington. He's able to do that at SC for a little while. And now he's able to do it at the University of Texas after winning national championship as an offensive coordinator at Alabama, right? He's right there. Next on the list for me, the guy who actually got the Alabama job when everybody else got a call, Kalen DeBoer. Outstanding 2-year run at Washington. But this is Alabama. And not only is it Alabama, I need to remind y'all that Alabama would get you up out the paint for losing to Auburn. The way that Ohio State fans looking at Ryan Day going, we will get you up out the paint for losing to Michigan one more time. Try one more again. That's going to be what it is. Alabama understands. Alabama football is the economy in the state, right? The regents understand this. That is what Kalen DeBoer is walking into. And I think on its face, that makes you one of the 4 most important, if not great coaches in our sport. But it's going to be tough sledding in this SEC, given what he lost in the portal and what they're going to have to try to do in 2024 to be competitive enough to play and or win the SEC championship game this year. Number 3 on the list for me, Ohio State coach Ryan Day. I have been a tremendous proponent of Ryan Day. In many respects, I have been a tremendous defender of Ryan Day because his resume is ridiculous. It's stacked. He wins games. We're still waiting on him to lose double-digit games as the head coach at Ohio State. You know what C.J. Stroud was able to do. You know what the late Dwayne Haskins was able to do. You know what Justin Fields was able to do. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one thing. Garrett Wilson is another. You know what I'm saying? Chris Olave, another. You know what I'm saying here? And then the defense they were able to put on the field, to say nothing of being able to win in recruiting and to continue to add to that staff, guys that we know, guys that we respect like Chip Kelly. But Ohio State fans going, yo, RJ, what have you done for me lately? Because all I remember is the thing you're not saying. He lost to Michigan 3 times in a row. We don't let that happen. Like, that's not a thing that we get to let go. I understand. I get it. I understand. However, I don't know who you're going to get that's going to do a better job, right? And given what he's up against, when we're talking about Ohio State and Michigan being the class of the Big Ten for the last decade, get these newbies coming in with Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington, There's going to be a lot of defense here. You're going to have to make it come on with the come on. And I think Ryan Day's in a great position to do that. But one of the three best coaches in the sport to me. Number two and number one on the list, we can talk about them both together. Dabo Swinney at Clemson and then Kirby Smart at Georgia. Both of those guys have won 2 national championships in the college football playoff era. But one of those guys feels like the king of college football, Kirby Smart. And one of those guys feels like he's losing his grip on what the sport once was because he's refusing to adjust what the sport is in Dabo Swinney. This is a man who refused to go into the transfer portal, right? And would be very loud about that fact. This is a man who did not allow recruits to take visits once they committed to Clemson. These are things that worked before the portal. These are things that worked before name, image, and likeness, but that ain't the world we live in anymore. And you Clemson, or to use Dabo's parlance, little old Clemson, you're going to be reminded that you are little old Clemson if you keep not winning the ACC championship, because we already don't think that much of the ACC. We already don't think that much of you for losing to Florida State. And we already are ready to say maybe the Clemson era has come and gone, given what you lost. You lost your coordinators in Tony Elliott, Jeff Scott, and Brent Venables. Garrett Riley's still trying to figure it out. Wes Goodwin, we'll see, right? You got players, but you got to get it right this year, or you might not be on this list next year. And then Kirby Smart, who went on one of the great 2-year runs that we've ever seen in the sport, given what kind of competitive nature we have in it, how hard it is to win football games, to understand what he was able to do in 2021, 2022 at the state at Georgia. I think it's remarkable because I remember a time when Georgia was they weren't as bad as Alabama once was, but you didn't expect no Georgia to win no national championship. Now we all just going to pencil them into the playoff and we all going to pencil them in the national championship game because that is what Kirby Smart has been able to do. It's his mountaintop right now. What I'm curious about going into 2024 and the expanded playoff is, can you defend it? We'll find out. Can't wait, man. Guys that I put on this list that could have put on this list, didn't put on this list that I could have put out on this list. Kyle Whittingham, Lance Leipold, Kirk Ferentz. Think the world of Lance Leipold. I need him to win a Big 12 championship, right? Pulling for him. You know how much I like him. He knows how much I like him. That partnership he has with Travis Goff is ridiculous. Kyle Whittingham might be the great coach that we don't put into this list every single year because of what he's been able to do at Utah. Probably going to show up to the Big 12 and be really good. They've been basically great since 2008, right? Without any drop-off, really. And then Kirk Ferentz, who's just been a bastion of winning football. Not championship football, but winning football. They will win more games than they lose. And at Iowa, that's enough to keep you in the job if you are Kirk Ferentz, right? Nobody expects you to beat Caitlin Clark, although we would not mind if you did. Put it this way, because we're doing the show on live. Caitlin Clark put up 41 points against LSU. Do you know how many Iowa fans would lose their friggin' minds if the Iowa Hawkeyes football team managed to put up 41 points on an LSU football team that was giving up the booty to everybody last year? Overjoyed. All I'm saying is, Kurt, let Tim Lester run up the score. Just let him sling the ball. That's all I'm asking. All right, that's my plea. Give the defense an offense they can be proud of.
If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.